Hi guys, welcome to Dad in the Don. Today we're going to be previewing Brentford versus Everton, and we're going to be speaking to regular guest Jay, who hasn't been on for a while, but we've got him back on, so we're going to see what he has to say about this fixture. So hi Jay, thanks for coming back on, mate. It's been a while, lots to catch up on since we last spoke. So I'm going to go back to a comment I made where I questioned what would Brentford's mentality be if they got onto a run of say 4 straight defeats. Admittedly, I thought it was going to be the Liverpool, West Ham, Chelsea and Leicester fixtures that caught you out, but you played quite well in those ones. But obviously, as we stand, we're looking at 4 defeats and a draw in your last 5. So how are they going to respond? And what do you think's caused it? Is it thin squad, injuries taking its toll, or perhaps have teams sort of got used to you now, they've found out what you're about and they've found ways to counter you? So what do you put this run of bad form down to, Jay?
I feel, long time, the international breaks seem to break up the Premiership quite a lot, unlike the Championship. Like I said before, we're used to a lot more games in this. But it just means that every game in the Prem is more vital because you don't have that opportunity to have necessarily a shit game and then bounce back with a couple of wins. Everything's really important. I think teams finding us out, a little bit. But I think it's just the nature of the Prem. I think I'm going to hark back to saying that it's more around injuries. We've had our first choice keeper go out. I think you look from that game after Leicester, when it happened, the results definitely changed. And I think for Alvaro Fernandez, our current goalkeeper, I don't think he's necessarily a bad goalkeeper, but he wasn't bought as a number 1. He was bought as a number 2 to develop and, do you know what I mean, kind of be a really good backup to Raya. So Alvaro's really good with his feet, but he's left wanting from crosses and kind of that dominating. Raya was always talking to his defence. I'm not sure where Alvaro's there yet, so that really impacted us. And then injuries throughout the team has just really hit us hard. And when we've got a £14 million wage budget compared to someone like yourself, where I think it's about £43 million, we don't have that squad depth because we don't have the money to pay those types of players. It's been a tough run, but we're still out the relegation zone. I think 7 points or something clear of Newcastle, for example, that we drew with at the weekend. There's some Brentford fans who are a bit frustrating me, who they saw Norwich as an easy win, and I don't think that's right at all. I think Thomas Frank talks about being confident but humble, and I don't think the fans have truly appreciated that we are confident every game we go into. We think we can win, but that doesn't mean that we're guaranteed it. It means that we have to perform at a certain level every time and not give silly goals away. The penalty we gave away against Norwich was Charlie Good, bless him, who has played League 2 football regularly before this. He didn't play Championship last year. He was injured for a lot of last year. So squad depth is really hurting us at the moment. So I think we can see some purchases in January.
Yeah, that's a good point you made about David Raya. I hadn't really looked into it that much, but it does make sense now you've highlighted it. Another thing I've noticed, obviously not too dissimilar to Palace when we first came into the league, Brentford seem to do quite well against the big teams, make it difficult for them when the teams coming at them. They seem to be able to be defensively solid, make it hard, and then hit them on the counter. But then when you're in a position where you're perhaps expected to win and you've got to go out there and be the aggressor, doesn't quite seem to have that play in you yet. So is that something that needs to be worked on? Maybe Thomas has to come up with another formation or set of tactics for when you are in those types of games, or do you think that's something that you'll just get to in time? So obviously you've just played what is the bottom 3 and come away with a point, so I'm pretty sure, I know you're going to say you can't win every game, but you would have probably expected a bit more than 1 point from that run of games. So what do you think tactically? Anything needs to be changed there, mate?
Yeah, I think a lot of fans would have expected more. I personally think the first half against Burnley we were terrible, but the rest of the games and the rest of the halves, I don't think we were bad at all. I think there were some silly little errors in there that led to goals, and you just got to kind of learn from there. But I think if we look at Norwich last year, I know they had Buendia, who just always scores against us because we're just not smart enough to fucking bark him out the game. But Norwich, we lost and drew with them last year. We were the playoff winners, so we are technically the worst team in the Championship. So I think there's some little bit of arrogance there from Brentford fans who haven't necessarily known us from League Two and League One days, and where were you when we were shit kind of thing. But I think it's part and parcel of being in the Prem is you want to stay there, and there's a bit of desperation, especially when you're a new team. I think you're 100% right on the point of we're better on the break than we are forcing the issue. There's some silly stat. Well, not a silly stat. I love a stat. But we've made the fewest smart passes in the league. So our defensive solidarity against teams that press us and don't put balls into the box is outstanding. But it's when we come up against the teams that don't necessarily do that, and we have to be a bit more on the front foot against them. We can't sit back because Burnley, for example, play a lot more championship style of getting balls into the box, getting your head on it, where we should be used to that. But we saw last year that can actually be our comeuppance. We like to play with the ball and play out, so it's getting that balance right. But you're like Wieser being injured, scored against Liverpool late on for us. He's massive miss, like creativity wise. When you spend millions on a player and he gets injured, what can you do when your squad depth isn't that good? So yeah, we're doing all right.
So, looking at relegation now, is this something that's a genuine worry now? Because obviously the points have dried up, been in a bit of sticky form. Just played the bottom three, as we spoke, didn't get a lot of points. So, I had a theory of why I think you'd be okay. Because a lot of yo-yo teams, they come straight up, go straight down, come straight up again. They don't have time to get their team right and be ready for the Prem. Where with yourselves, I counted you as probably the best team in the Championship for a good 3 years. But for whatever reason, you couldn't get in the playoffs, you couldn't go up automatically. You finally won the playoffs, and sort of like the third time of asking, so to speak. So do you think that's put you in good stead now because you've actually had time to build your team and you're now actually ready? And do you think you'll be all right this year? Because like looking down at the bottom there, is there enough down there that are worse than you that you think you'll be okay because there's a lot worse down there, or is it still a genuine worry?
Personally, I think relegation was always on the cards. Do you know what I mean? We've got the after Leeds, which I was a bit surprised about, that Leeds have got such a small wage bill. And I hark back to wage bill because at the end of the day, money talks. I think you guys have got Benteke and Zaha on 120 and 160,000 a week each, when your next players are on 40s and 50s. So it does show the quality that those two specifically have for your team. I think that you've got a lot of good players, to be honest, like some really talented players for the Championship. But yeah, money does talk at the end of the day. So I think we've always been relegation contention. But I think you're right in terms of people expecting us to stay up because we seem to be more prepared. Whether these are things or assumptions or not, who knows? But yeah, I'm looking at other teams every week in, week out now, going how well did they do? What other teams are looking weak? So Norwich have got a win from Dean Smith's first game. Do I think necessarily Dean Smith will keep them up? Not really, mate. And a game with Eddie Howe, like everyone's getting excited, but we all know he's got a shit defensive record. People were going, "Oh, we see the changes from Eddie Howe." Like, let's not be funny. You were playing Brentford at home. Like, you shouldn't be celebrating going behind twice and nicking a draw. Like, I think that's a bit embarrassing, and their defence was shocking. So was ours. Ours was terrible as well. But yeah. So yeah, look, we were always going to be in a relegation fight. It's just, can we stay away from the bottom three for as long as possible? At the moment, we're doing that. I see Leeds are definitely struggling. Newcastle are definitely struggling. Norwich, we'll see. Watford, I think Watford are good. I really like that Sarr they have. He's a quality player. He's always done us over in the champ. But on another point, people say, "Oh, we've been knocking at the Prem door for a few years." The last two seasons we finished third. Before that, we were 9th and 10th. So I think people get a bit of a misconception that we've been knocking on the door for a long time. Well, actually, we've had two playoffs, and that was it. Before that, we were well off the pace. Well, shouldn't have been well off the pace when we had Watkins, Benrahma, and Maupay. But we had Dean Smith, and defensively he's shit. So I think that's why we weren't pushing a little bit harder then, and potentially I think that's hurt us. When you look at Watkins and Maupay, if we'd gone up one of the years they were up top, no offence to Ivan, and this isn't a dig at all, because I think Ivan's quality. But I think with those players looking the way they're developing in the Prem, maybe that was because they went to bigger clubs. Who knows? But yeah, we've had some real quality come through our club.
So going to look at Toney now. So a few people have thought like, oh, they expected him to get more goals, but for me, I'm looking at it, he's scored 3 goals already. So in the Premier League compared to the Championship. So if he carries on at that rate, he's going to get between like 9 and 12 goals, which I think is a fair return for your first season up there. So, and then looking deeper into it, there's a lot of transfer rumours around he's going to go. So do you think now's the time, if you do stay up, that you could turn around and say, we're not going to be a selling club anymore, we're going to command a fee, and if he does go, it's going to be for a decent price? Or is that just something you've got to accept as a Brentford fan now that Brentford have got their way and that's the system?
I'm telling you now, we are 100% a selling club. If someone comes in for Ivan, he'll go. I don't have a problem with it, because I have faith in the club that they're not just doing it for the money, they're doing it for the longevity. So when we're talking about being ready for the Premiership, well, actually, we want to be ready to stay in the Premiership season on season, not just this one season will we stay in there. So it's easy to use a comparison with Palace. So they spent big bucks on keeping Zaha and Benteke. Do we do that with Ivan, or do we let him go and potentially reinvest? So whatever Benteke is on 120, do we buy however many 4 players for 30 grand a year who could potentially develop into much better than what we've sold in Ivan? So yeah, we'll always be a selling club. In terms of Ivan's performances, he got the majority of goals in the first 2/3 of the season last year. A lot of penalties in the second half of the season, which I don't have a problem with, but you've got to score a penalty, for God's sake. And he does that faultlessly for us. But he's dropping a lot deeper, kind of like Kane does, and is setting up those things. So I think he's bagged a couple of assists this year, which he did last year as well. But Ivan's whole game is fantastic for us defensively as well. You can see him clearing off the line against Newcastle. He wins a lot of headers in our corner box. So Ivan's all-round play, he did this last year as well, but has developed week on, week out. I don't necessarily think I don't know if he'll get a big move next year. Yeah, we'll see, because there are a lot of quality. I don't really know what to say on it. Like, we'll see, but the club will let him go if big money does come in for him. But the right money, like, they don't let players go for cheap. Like, let's be honest, Benrahma and Watkins went for a little bit silly money. I know they did well in the Championship, but the club went, nope, this is a price. West Ham paid it. Aston Villa paid it. But Ivan's performances, like I said at the beginning of the season, 10 to 15 goals for Ivan is more than successful. So yeah, 3 goals, dropping deeper. First half of the season in Championship, he was in the 6-yard box all the time, just knocking them in for fun, because that's what he does. His movement is just ridiculous there. But we don't have that front forward play at the moment to kind of cut teams open and make those smart passes in behind. So that's where we're missing that quality, which I think Yohan Wissa brings to the team. Been injured for a bit. Josta Silva, we haven't seen him yet, but he creates those driving runs from midfield and a very, very tasty ball. So yeah, we're rocking into it. But yeah, we will always be a selling club.
So we're going to focus on your next opponent, which is Everton. You're at home, got the fans back behind you, which will help, no doubt. Start of the season, they were on fire. I think they got 10 points in their first 4, and Rafa could do no wrong. But looking at their fixtures since, I think in the next 8 games, all they've done is beat Norwich, and they're now sitting on 15 points. So it's not like they're exactly setting the world on fire themselves. So is this now a time where you're looking, you can take advantage of that poor form and get a win yourselves, or are you just looking at it, get anything from this game? Any points will do. What's your approach to the game, mate?
Without sounding defeatist, I think every game in the Premier is let's try and get something from the game. But definitely, you're right. I think Everton have dropped off massively. DCL's injured at the moment. I can't even remember the bloody bastard's name. Someone got a booking at the weekend, so they're out. Another injury, big players, them are out. I think Everton do this quite a lot, don't they? I think they go through periods where everyone's like, whoa, Everton is shit hot, and then they're just not. So yeah, I think we're looking at this game going, that's a winnable game at home. Sunday game, plenty of people filling up the ground again. So yeah, I think we're looking at this going, let's get 3 points from this game.
Yeah, I agree. You've got to be looking to win these games. So onto the game itself, what sort of game do you expect from this? Do you think it's going to be free-flowing football? Do you think it's going to be a bit of a cagey affair? What do you expect to see from them?
To be honest, I think it's going to be a bit cagey. I think Everton are definitely lacking confidence from the amount of points they've got. And Rafa Benitez will be going like, we need a winner. Like they've got to get a win. So there's no sitting back, or they've got to go for it. So as long as we're not silly and concede an early goal, I think we can definitely hurt them and show what we're about again. So, like you say, I think the games against the bottom clubs we struggled against, because it's fact that we kind of did that in the Championship last year. Not the bottom clubs, but the ones, Norwich, and we did struggle against Watford as well. Not that we played them yet. So yeah, we're definitely aiming for a win.
Yeah, let's hope you do, mate. And one last thing before you go, I can't let you go without asking you this one. So, 12 games in, 12 weeks of Premiership football. I know you've had a little pop in the past, but are you finally ready, Jay, to admit to the public that you just want to be like Palace?
If you mean be like Palace as in draw every game, I don't want to draw every game, but you've only lost 2 games, so I'll give you that respect. But yeah, look, the Prem's a madness. You lot got 4 times the amount of wage packet that we have, so wind your neck in, big boy.
I knew it wasn't going to be that easy to get a response from you, mate, but I'm taking it as a yes anyway. Anyway, Jay, all seriousness, thanks for coming on. Hope you get the win at the weekend, get back on track. Thanks for watching at home, guys. So that was Jay and his Brentford preview. Please like and subscribe. We'll catch you on the next show.